Hey guys, it's Virtual from Zenith Corporation, back at you again, and by popular demand, I'm gonna be showing you guys how to make the magic carpet. So this ship was actually first debuted in my anti-gravity video, where I suggested that it's a pretty good solution for getting up and down from an anti-gravity ship that's hovering at 1 kilometer. But a lot of you guys saw it and thought it was really cool, and I've been getting more messages than I know what to do with about the blueprint, right? So a couple people asked, and I decided, I'll show you guys how to make it. So if you haven't watched previous videos and you don't know what this is, it's basically a hovercraft or a like a VTOL ship that's just kind of designed for getting around. And like if I wanted to be cinematic, I could just fly like this and show you guys cool things. But I mean, it can be really good for, utility and building, and even just screenshots. Like if I want to take a screenshot of something, I can use this ship as well, and it's really useful. It's a lot of fun to fly around too, as you can probably see. I could fly this for hours, and some of my org members would attest to that I have actually flown it for hours. Turns out. So anyway, I'll go ahead and land, and I'll show you guys basically what you got to do to build one of these. It's really easy. So the first step is definitely get the parts. I'm gonna unlink from my container. So this is the parts list that you're gonna want. 2 aged gray pattern aluminum. Yep, and so on and so forth. The only T2 item here is the remote controller, and you can just buy one of these from a popular market. Super easy to do. Other than that, everything else is super cheap from any market. So, yeah, let's get right into it. Obviously, the first thing we're going to want to do is equip this core and place it. So, just going to name it just like that. Zenith Corporation, deploy. Alright, I'm going to move it up just a little bit. Element does not, yeah, of course it doesn't. Just enough so that I can see. Okay, and then we're going to place the glass. So, what I'm doing why am I still linked to, yeah, okay. Yeah, so I can just double click the item to equip it, or I can just drag it to my bar on the side, and I'm going to do that for all of the elements that I'm planning on using. Right, so the first thing, I'm just going to kind of go off of what my ship is here. Looks like the first thing is going to be our fuel tank, and the fuel tank goes behind it. And yep, so just like so, and then I'm going to place the glass on top of the fuel tank right in the middle. And now I'm just going to click R to rotate the glass to how I want. Yep, just as easy as that. We'll go ahead and slap the remote controller down right on top of the core. Yep, and now we're going to want to border this with voxels. You gotta equip the voxels also. So I think that how I did it on mine, yeah, this one's going to be slightly different because I'm kind of just doing freehand. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this. And if you're watching me build right now and you're like, what in the world is he doing? You guys should go definitely watch like an introduction building video, and those can be super useful and definitely worth your time, especially if you're new to the game. But the gist of it is I'm just kind of copying and pasting my boxes around, and then I'm going to switch using E to the wedge. And I'm just going to paste the wedge. You can make this, you can make it a design if you wanted to, but, I guess it's nice to have the ship light, so it's not really necessary. Now, this ship particular, you can use either, so you can use either 9 or 7 engines. The 9 engine or the 9 engine variant is a little bit more versatile. But anyway, I'm going to click R until I have this like so, how I want it, just kind of clipped. Then I'm going to move it down like that. And then now I can click U on the engine to get symmetry. Looks like that's where I want it. And we're going to do the same thing on the back. Interesting, that one's not a... not giving me symmetry. That's very weird. Okay, yeah, and the same thing on the sides. And, I mean, you might have noticed that these also act like landing gear. And once again, you could add landing gear, you could add a hover engine, or whatever you wanted to it, but, yeah, like I said, I think that the lighter option is going to be the better option for something like this. And the technology, I mean, of making a vertical takeoff ship like this carries over to anything from, I mean, like this extra small to all the way up to like a large core. And on a large core, you can use something like this in, you know, many advanced ways to move a lot of ore or something. This one's going to be a little bit different. I'm kind of going to freehand it. I'm just going to throw the air brake back there, somewhere where it's well and out of the way. And then just like it is on this ship, I'm just going to put adjusters on each of the corners, just like so, just so we have a little bit of maneuverability, because that's kind of important. And then down here as well. It is kind of important to point out that the farther away the adjuster is from the center of mass of the ship, the better the adjuster is actually going to be. Now, so I'm just going to use the one backward engine for this. So this variant actually has, sorry, it was 9, not 7. It has these 2 side strafing engines, but, you know, I put them there because I thought I'd like it, but I really don't. You can add them if you'd like to your version, but on mine, I'm just going to add the backward facing engine, and that can just be placed in simply like so. It's also worth noting that you don't really need to link the engines unless you want to, because when you activate this, it actually automatically configures and links all the things. Speaking of configuring, we're going to run default auto configure to flying construct on that, and we also need to put just a little bit of fuel in the tank, and we're going to be good to go. I also want to show you just one more trick kind of with how the controls work that you can use. So this should work straight off the bat for me. Yeah, and as you can see, you know, just easily, I already made my little floating magic carpet here. So, I mean, I can use this just to hover stationary, but I can also use my scroll wheel and I can throttle up and get like a stationary movement forward without having to tip. But if I wanted to, you know, I could still fly with that back engine off just by turning it, but sometimes that's not great for the camera angles, if you know what I mean. But yeah, you can see how this would be useful for many other things. Now I want to show you one more thing, and that is the Lua parameters. And maybe if you wanted to kind of slow down the movements on this bad boy, make it a little bit more cinematic. Oh, also, before I do that, I want to point out that control backspace, I actually have a macro on my mouse that does it, but control backspace takes you away from the ship control, right? Because sometimes you'll be flying around, like maybe you'll fall off or something if you run into something, and this thing will still be flying away because it's on the remote control, and you can't click the remote control to deactivate it, so just hold control and click backspace, and the ship stops for you. Alright, anyway, I wanted to talk about Lua parameters. You can access those just by going to advanced and edit Lua parameters. So what if I change all of these to like 0.5? We'll leave the brake speed factor alone. Now we can see I have like a much smoother flight, right? And I can hide my HUD, get the ship out of the way, and get a really, really cinematic shot of the spaceport. You know, YouTube quality, dare I say. Anyway, you've seen it here first, how to build a magic carpet. Hopefully, you know, this was useful for you guys, and you guys can have some fun with this little ship. I'm looking forward to seeing a bunch of these little guys around the market platforms. Anyway, I'll see everybody later. Have a good week. Signing off.